episode number 394.
When people ask questions, we want to give them the very best answer to that question. And so that's why, being able to have a website that answers questions very neatly and keenly to the actual query, well, it keeps people on your site and shows relevance. And that is going to keep you also, rising towards the top of search.
Welcome to the Be Real Show with Travis Too Tall and Huff, where we talk about life, dreams, social media, and business.
Well, hello, and welcome to the Be Real Show with Travis Too Tall and Huff. Folks, your boy is always fired up, ready to bring you a little fuego in your days, nights, weekends, or whenever you are listening to the show today. But after this show, I think you're going to want to think about SEO and the way that you can get more traffic to your website. And there's so many different things you can do. Solutions experts are glorious. But I'm bringing you an expert in the game because he's not only in the SEO world, but he's been doing marketing experience both on the brand side and the agency side for over 20 years. Mr. Jon Lightfoot. Jon, are you ready to be real?
I'm ready to be real. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. That was quite an introduction. Thank you.
Absolutely, my man. Absolutely. So take me back into your story before we get into SEO and the fun goods of today. When you were a kid, when you were in college, were you always into marketing? Were you always into creating campaigns, advertising, fun things like that?
Well, it's interesting. There was a slight caveat in my life in that I actually kind of began as a clothing designer.
Wow.
And I enjoyed it. There was an artistic bend to all of that, and it really was quite wonderful. But after that, it's really just been marketing ever since. I started off with kind of a wholesale business that I did for a decade, and then after acquisition, I just tried to leverage that information and success that I gleaned there to help other businesses, and it's just been that way ever since.
Wow. So take me back into when you started the SEO side of the business, or the new kind of business, if you want to call it, being created here, using all that experience, but then obviously capitalize on a very much needed area. What was the epiphany, or what was like the first customer experience, or what gave you the insight? And then this is going to be the topic that I take care of and I help people with.
That's right. Yes, it really, so for me, it kind of came down to, I started, before the inception of Google, way back, to your point, way back. And the tactics back then were, tactics at best, meaning, it was this notion of let's put keywords all over the bottom of the web page, make them in white font, or, text, and then on a white background where nobody can actually see them, but you're really just hoping that the crawlers could kind of pick them up. It was that type of effort. It was, a gray hat at best, way, way back in the day. There was no sophistication. There was really no algorithms that we were aware of that we could speak to. But here's the thing. In the B2B segmentation of what I was doing, the way that companies were naturally growing was, get out to conventions, go to conferences, show up, suit up, and talk to people. But that was very, seasonal. There were segments of those shows, and then everything went dark for months and months and months. So I thought, how can I get in front of this narrative of these industries in a meaningful way with consistency? And I was a startup business at the time. So I didn't have a lot to invest, let's say, in different sorts of marketing traditional sense, billboards or even print and things. So it was really search for me that I found that I could meaningfully interact with that audience ongoing.
And what did you do in search? And the first step, what was the first thing you did in search?
Yeah. So the first thing I did really was that kind of, let's make sure the pages were speaking to the various queries that could pull that sort of page up as a solution. So that's as sophisticated as it was way back then, literally almost 20 years ago. And so that was the process. There was also to a degree citations, like actually having the business propagate into different resources and directories as a citation marker. in due course, other search engines kind of came to fruition, and it became a bit more sophisticated. And then that's when really, in my estimation, content began to reign supreme. And it has ever since. I mean, content is still vastly the epicenter of anything that we should be doing, that we are doing, because that meaningful nature to it all really supports the value from a transactional side or from a lead gen side. But anyway, yes, it was some of those early initiatives that got me off the ground and going.
So when someone typed in a need of the business, the blog, the topic, the article would actually address that, bringing you traffic to your website, addressing their need, not talking about necessarily the business, but really focused on whatever that person was searching for. Great strategy. I mean, incredible strategy. Obviously, back in the day, it was easier to make happen than it is today. What's the strategy now?
Yeah, the strategy now, if I could crystallize it down, I've been thinking this and saying this a bit of late, which is really building authority builds brands. There's so many websites. I mean, hundreds of millions. There's many, many, many more every single day. Google, the search engines as a whole, they can't rank them all, nor should they. It really starts to crystallize and bake itself down into trust. Mm-hmm. It's the authoritativeness. Now, that is me crystallizing it down. If we extrapolate it out a little bit, you still have to have that technical soundness to the site. And that really backs into, you have to be algorithmically compliant. So we have to kind of take a look at what are these core factors, these core algorithms that we must serve to. We have to meet those minimum compliance scores. But once we have that technical segmentation down, it really comes down to trust and authority. And that can most be affected and enhanced, of course, with reputation. But this also dots back to link building, domain authority, page authority, that kind of DRDA, those ranking segmentations to how are you perceived from a trust perspective? Because even though the end consumer, the core demo, may never go and take a look at your Ahrefs DR. They may never go to Moz and look up your DA. That's fine. But the search engines will, and they are very mindful of those types of segmentations. And even though they're not really going to Moz and looking it up, it mimics how they would envision your trust and authority to be. And so we want to harness that to propel you in search.
I think I had Rand Fishkin on the show. Moz, I think he created Moz. I'm trying to remember that now because he was all about SEO. Are we familiar with Rand Fishkin? Incredible. I mean, because it's so important. I mean, the biggest thing for the business is there's a lot of tools out there that you can use to kind of give you some insight that a lot of times we forget that they're out there. You just got to go find them, take advantage of them. And at the end of the day, be open to their suggestions, because a lot of times we get stuck into our suggestions thinking we know it all, thinking we're in the perfect place and we got everything figured out. Mr. John, I got everything dialed in. In 2020 hits you, and then you got some issues because some businesses, weren't able to operate. Some things weren't able to be the same, and we had to make a lot of changes. Many businesses, some of them were able to do it seamlessly. Get home, working home from home, Zoomify, Slack, and all these tools, but that also had to transition your website, your business, because you can now offer like maybe Shopify, and you could actually be selling things through your website that you were only selling brick and mortar. But now with the Shopify, you can sell to customers all over the globe. And I had a few people on the show that they took their business from being shut down to dry ice and packaging and some ads. And next thing you know, they're selling in states that they never had distribution for due to just having the search engines bring them, people. They're looking for this stuff. They're looking for acai bowls delivered to my home, or, and the Google is just bringing this traffic to you. No one's doing this. You add a Shopify overnight to your website, and next thing you know, you're selling in states all over the globe. It's just incredible when you think about it.
Yeah, no, it's true. I see that a lot these days. It's interesting. It's almost full circle for me because the idea again, when you think about stores adding new products to their shelves, those stores typically went to buyer shows, right? They actually went to some of the food buyer shows or different types of buyer shows, depending on the industry, right. Saw what was new, had a chance to taste it, sample it, look at it, feel it, whatever, and maybe gave them a pilot in the stores. But a lot of that interactivity, the mass gatherings at these big buyer shows, it's not happening. So the question is, they have to evolve. These stores need to bring new products to keep the customers coming in. How do they do it? You're right. They have to search for it. And it's true. You can do the paid ads to get in front of that narrative very, very quickly. I look at the paid segmentation as the sprint and the kind of organic as the marathon.
Right.
But at the end of the day,
right.
Getting in front of that journey and being able to answer those questions or being relevant in a space, it's really impactful. And search is driving so much of those queries and so much of the results. I mean, if you were to ask Google, how do you really tell who you want to rank? And I mentioned about the authority segmentation, but really, I think what they would really say is, look, when people ask questions, we want to give them the very best answer to that question. And so that's why, being able to have a website that answers questions very neatly and keenly to the actual query, well, it keeps people on your site and shows relevance. And that is going to keep you also, rising towards the top of search.
And the other thing that they say is a really important thing is the load time. How fast does your website load? Yeah. If it's loading slow, because you got tons of pictures, content, video, you haven't compressed those files or things like that. And I also say the same thing about mobile friendly. I can't tell you how many sites I still go to that on my mobile phone are not mobile friendly, And so not instantly am I zooming in and trying to figure things out and trying to click that right link. Oh, I clicked the wrong link. And then that just makes my experience, horrific. And so something so simple as making sure your app is mobile, making sure your website is mobile friendly. So when people are searching for you, and then you're not shooting yourself in the foot by making it hard on them. We know people instantly will go from this site to that site if it's too clunky, weird. You go to some site and it seems weird. I can't trust that site. I'm going to Amazon. I'm going to Target. I'm going to the brands I believe in, trust. Like you talked about trust. I'm going to the authorities. They already got my credit card information. I'm not giving you my credit card, Mr. XYZ website. Now you got enough deal. You got enough validation. You got enough of my friends talking about XYZ website, doing transactions with them. And I can see some of the social proof here based on maybe they just showed it to me and they shared a post or something like that. Now you're talking. Now maybe I got a little trust, and willing to put down my credit card, let's just be real, or my ATM information, etc., to make a transaction happen. If not, I'm going back to the trusted sources, baby. That's why McDonald's is so popular. I'm going back to McDonald's because I can trust that the McDonald's I get in Fresno is the same in, Japan. Maybe a little variations. They got sweet stuff there. They do a little different things. I know when I traveled when I was a kid, the burgers aren't exactly the same, but they're pretty close, and they do things different for their culture. But if you go anywhere in the US, it's about the same. And so versus just, you see another burger shot, you're taking a shot in the wind, unless you look at their Yelp reviews, unless your friend went there, unless your buddy just got the best burger in your life there, And so I think that's the other thing that SEO does, in that it also can offer some social proof. Once you get them to the website, once you're actually there, now, not just talking about you, but talking about who you're serving, the customers, and so important. I think that's a left out topic more and more, and it's the hidden fruit. It's the golden gem in that it's right there. These are right here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, it's totally true. Here's the interesting thing. When I was a kid, I had this goldfish. I was trying to do something with goldfish, and my mom said to me, he can only really follow you for I think she said 3 or 4 seconds. That's the attention span of the goldfish. And I looked at the goldfish and I really felt sad. I felt sad, like, wow, really? You can only think about something for 3 or 4 seconds. That's really sad. Thank God I'm a human being. And I went with my life. Well, I was pretty deep in the social media space for a long time. I was really watching very carefully for human beings now, for people that are interacting and the way in which we're serving content and how long it takes to digest content. And I watched as the report showed that our attention span broke below the threshold of 10 seconds, below 7. I thought, whoa, and now in the most recent reports that I've been privy to, it's below 3 seconds. And all I thought of is we're less than the goldfish. And I bring that up now because, to your point, and there's a lot of things to think through there, but to your point, yes, speed matters, and Google knows this. And that's why they have the page experience kind of Core Web Vital algorithm to say, look, you have to be within certain speed metrics, especially on mobile, where it's very hard to render it quickly, but we have to be mindful of that. And to your point, when all things are created equal, in other words, if you know who you are and you know who your competitors are, and you're all trying to rank for the same thing, how does Google choose who to rank higher? Well, sometimes, to your exact point, that hidden fruit, it can come down to those metrics. In other words, if you have very similar domain authority and you optimize your sites in a very similar capacity, it may that what tilts those scales could be who loads faster, who gives the better page experience and can serve people in the way in which they want to be served, which is quickly. And so I agree with you. Yes.
Fascinating. People forget about that. They just like, all this high quality imagery. It's some of that stuff has changed because you just want it to load quickly, especially like you said, on the mobile, because the Wi-Fi speeds, the mobile speeds might be slow. You might be in a weird spot, but you still need to get this website popped up. And like you said, there might be 3 websites that are competing for the same traffic. Google's probably going to give it the one that they know can be trusted, and where they send them there, they stay there. They have that metric too, where they kind of, like you talked about, the experience on the website. They don't just pop in and leave 2 seconds later. I think that's another piece to your website is when people come there, why do they stick around? Do they just pop in and just, call a number? Great. That's perfect. But, are they calling or are they just popping in, browsing you and leaving, and I think the more times you have ways to attract them there, keep them there. Obviously, there's many things you can do, get an email list and all those type of great things to capture emails on there. But content, reason, like you said, a checkup, is it something you can do, a tool, something you can provide some value so that someone wants to put their website information into your back end, so where you can give them a grade or give them something, and that's going to keep them there longer. And I feel like if you keep that trend, then that's what Google wants. They're going to serve more people to your website. You're going to get more people there, more traffic, stays longer. But if you are just driving only by ads, I feel like you get a lot of just people coming, stopping, back, click, 2 seconds, off. Now, sometimes it works. Let's just be real. It works. In some cases, someone's trying to buy something. Your ad pops up at the right time. It works. It definitely works. But then a lot of times it's just going to be traffic that's traffic. You pay for it and it doesn't really convert to anything.
Yeah, yes, you're right on so many levels. So on the paid segmentation, it works. You're right. It works when you are methodical and strategic, and when you have a soft landing is what I call it. In other words, when you've thought through what was it that evoked the click and how do you bridge that to the page so that they land softly and that narrative continues, that works. Too often I see in the paid segmentation the links going straight to the homepage, regardless of what they were sold or told or what they clicked on, what it was that evoked the click. It maybe should have been dotted to an interior page or a landing page specifically built out to support the narrative. But it can work, especially if you really think about the journey. The other side of what you said, I just want to touch on briefly, is that when I think about SEO, I envision a quarter in my mind sometimes. And one side of that quarter is SEO. And if you flip it over, the backside is CRO, that conversion rate optimization. And that's a lot of what you're talking about, because if we really think through this, it's like, look, if we do everything exceptionally well, then okay, Google will probably celebrate us. We rise to the top. We get more impression share. We're getting the clicks. Things are going great. That's where it starts. That's for a lot of people where it ends, but it really is where it starts. And the reason why is, what's next? Google's not going to keep you at the top if what happens next is that people click on it, come to your website, and then leave. No engagement. Bounce rates high, time on site's low, interior pages are low. They're not going to keep you there, because what they're going to say is, look, I gave you the opportunity. We're driving people to you, but the metrics coming back show that you don't have those quality signals. So we have to really think through what happens next on page. How do we keep them longer and invoke their actual engagement and move them into the site and these sorts of things? And frankly, to me, that's a very big part of the SEO as well, because they can't live without one or the other.
They both go together. And that's why you have to constantly be working at it. The terminology you use, the offers you do, the incentives, the tools you create, and constantly be offering new things and pivoting that, because obviously you come to your website 1 year ago, I want to see something maybe different, and a lot of times the business cycle for some business to business transactions takes years. This isn't just walking into, McDonald's and buying a burger. Sometimes these contracts are hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars or it's $10,000, but some of these businesses don't just jump that day. They maybe have been to your website. They maybe have come back. And then if you're kind of the same person and you haven't evolved, and they say, hey, dude, you haven't evolved at all. Why are they going to do business with you now? And so I think that's a big piece that we forget, in that a lot of times we're there, but the business time cycle is a lot longer, especially in B2B. But now, my man, we're about to get you into your top 10. Are you ready?
Absolutely.
Let's go. Apple or Android?
Android.
Android. Let's go, baby. Netflix or YouTube?
Netflix.
Netflix. Instagram or Facebook?
Yeah. I'm going to go IG.
He goes IG. Facebook owns them all right now, but IG. Let's go.
Yeah, true.
Chicken or steak?
Steak.
Zuckerberg's buying up all of Kauai. Let's go. My favorite island in Hawaii. He's like, you know what? I need 10,000 more acres of that place. Let's go. Laptop or smartphone?
Laptop.
When you're thinking about content, Spotify or Pandora?
Spotify. That's for me.
Spotify. Movies or video games?
I'll go games.
Video games. Reading books or listening to books?
Reading
books. And if you're thinking about diversifying the portfolio, stocks or real estate?
Real estate, definitively.
Real estate. Stocks are having a tough day today. We've been having a tough year so far. Oceans or lakes, if you're thinking about vacation, getting away, you deserve it, my man.
Oceans, Hawaii in particular. Like
Hawaii. Do you have a favorite island in Hawaii?
Oahu,
the beautiful island of Oahu, Honolulu, so many things. The grilled shrimp on the North Shore, everything about that island I love. Yeah. Let's go. When you're waking up in your day, my man, you're getting yourself ready, pumped, energized for the day. Why do you love being you, Mr. Jon Lightfoot?
First and foremost, it's, for my kids and family, those sorts of things, to be transparent. That's the first thing I'll always think about. But shortly after that, I really think about, and this may be cliche, it's the truth for me though, I think about my clients because they put a lot of trust in me and I appreciate that. And every day I just try to win for them. And when I do, and when we do as a team and they do, it feels amazing. It is amazing. It is the purpose and why I do what I do. It comes from a place of passion, but really it's their success. That's all I really think about.
And that fuels the family. That fuels everything, right?
Yeah, right.
Let's go. Do you have certain types of categories that you guys love gravitating and working with?
Well, not really. And I say that because, we're open to a lot of different things. To be transparent, there's a few categories that we don't work with, I just don't really get involved in casinos and adult, different things like that.
Stuff. Yeah, right.
I just can't really I don't drive that forward in my mind. But beyond that, we do a lot of e-com, we do a lot of B2B, we do a lot of service and SaaS and things like that. And all of them are challenging and wonderful and just opportunistic. We even do some things in the space with the government. So, and they all are fair game to optimization.
And it's constantly evolving, constantly changing. Like I know in the digital space, we always got to stay on our toes, baby. That's the best part about this business, baby, is that it's constantly, it's keeping the synapses alive, folks. It's keeping us, keeping us going, baby. Do you think you'll ever retire from the game of SEO, from the agency, and just hanging up and say, hey, I want to enjoy life, kids, and being a grandpa, maybe things like that?
I do. I do think that. And I'm probably maybe 10 years out on that, something in that realm. But, like I say, I've been doing this for about 20 years already. Right. I'm not necessarily in my youth per se, but I've got a good decade left where I think I can be very impactful. And then at such time, it'll probably be time to pass the baton and that sort of thing. Maybe move into just some reading and writing, but yes, in due course.
Absolutely. Keeping the mind ready, taking all that experience and putting it in books and putting it in content, speaking and things you can do as well. So important to keep that knowledge going. I think we just had a gentleman on, he built Spark 44. They started from 0 employees. They had 1,200 employees, big business, Mr. Rolf and he's writing a book right now about building corporate soul and basically talking about how every corporation needs a soul. But his incredible mission is that when he left, he got all this abundance of outreach from his team members and employees and staff. And he just took this like, wow, I must be doing something right. And then he took this and all this knowledge and research, and he researched like LinkedIn and so many businesses. And then then put it in a book. And that's what I think, gentlemen like yourself can do as well with all this knowledge in a way to give back at the end of our days too. Like I try to do every day with the podcast, we're just doing a little bit of giving, a little bit of education, a little bit of entertaining. And a lot of times people find value. And then let's just be real. There's maybe some business transaction happening. Maybe someone reaches out to my man, Jon. And, but most importantly too, it's a win-win across the board because people are educated. And I think that more and more people are obviously using podcasts to educate themselves. Do you have a routine on starting your day?
Usually because some of the clients that I have are, just different parts of the world. I do have a routine. It is wake up, caffeinate, and get into it immediately. So I literally do. Thankfully I'm a morning person, so nice. I'm able to just my eyes pop open and I'm pretty much firing. So I just get right into it and push, and it feels great. It's really invigorating.
Especially if you have, like you said, customers in different time zones, because they're already a little ahead of us out here on the West Coast.
They're up.
They're like, hey, what's going on, my dude? We already are at lunchtime. But there's also a beauty of the working in different time zones, and that you can get things done when they're sleeping and when they're relaxing, and you can have things ready for them to approve. And there's a lot of beauty in time zones and working in having people in different time zones, having customers in different time zones, traveling in different time zones, and because time is a blessing. And so finding ways to use that. And then, like I said, the beauty of the internet is that you can have customers in different time zones now. Like it's no big deal. Just like we just interviewed people on different sides of the country, four people today, and I didn't have to go anywhere. They didn't have to go anywhere. And the shows are about to be done, baby. Let's go. Do you have a favorite app or a tool in your business that you just love or gravitate to right now?
Well, yeah, I live and breathe, I feel like, all day long in SEMrush, and I do bounce into Ahrefs all day long too. So I think those are the ones that where you find me most engaged, and my team and I mean, there's several of my team members who live and breathe out a Screaming Frog. I know, any of these tools can kind of throw false positives from time to time. So it's so important to synthesize all these data together from all the tools. So yeah, that's no doubt about it. I mean, sure, I live in Google Analytics and Search Console and things of that nature too. You'll find me in those kind of Google properties, but overall, I feel like SEMrush is where so much of my time is spent these days.
Such a powerful tool.
Yeah,
all those tabs on the left-hand side, I'm like, God dang, there's so many different things that you do. Let's start looking at competitors. Let's start looking at keywords. Yeah. Let's start looking at everything. That's an incredible, powerful tool. If you could sit down, a couple last questions here, and chop it up with anyone in the world for a steak dinner or a lovely dinner, who would you like to sit down with?
Oh, well, this may not be the answer that anybody was caring to hear, but if it were me, I would sit down with Steve Yzerman. I was born and raised in Michigan, and so on a personal level, I really value Steve's leadership and just his dedication to Detroit and to the Red Wings for his entire career. So that's who that would be. Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah, nice.
Let's go. Nice. It's an 8 though. It's an 8. It's an 8, baby. I'm a value.
Oh, okay.
I got to get that PSA 10, baby. The Steve Yzerman.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah. I think hockey, because I'm into sports cards too. I think hockey is a definite value play as an investment. A lot of people are into basketball, football, sports, and stuff like that, and they forget like the GOATs, like the Bobby Orrs and the GOATs of the hobby that, these guys have already established something and the values are there, and there's not a lot of population of these cards. And as you see with a lot of other things, when there's not a lot of population and there's some demand because they got ESPN now popping the NHL. Woo! Let's go. I'm really interested. Obviously, Connor McDavid, that guy is a piece on its own, but I go back to the old school guys right now. I'm going back to the old school first before I go into the new school, because you can't go wrong. You can't go wrong, with the legends, I always like to say.
Yes. Yes.
Has there been a book that has changed your life or something that you either reread or just sticks to your soul?
Well, yes. And it's interesting for me because I always think about, content. And so, content, they say content ranks king. You hear that a lot. And so usually, it's anything around narrative to me. And so I like to read books that have to do with narratives, content, anything like that. That's usually kind of in the space where you'll find me.
I love that. There's so many great books on that right now. What was the one I read? Matthew McConaughey's recent book. He has a fascinating book. And then what was the recent one I was listening to? It was really David Goggins. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Can't hurt me, baby. Can't hurt me, baby. Let's go. Talk about a crazy, incredible story. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, getting into you, my man, and sending a little traffic your way, folks. If you are gravitated to learning more about SEO, please take my man up on checking him out. Where is your favorite place for people to learn more about you guys?
Yeah, just invite everybody to please visit, Strategic SEO Solutions. That's our website. It's easy to get in touch with us there. I have Calendly booked into there, and happy just to chat. Honestly, there's really no commitment or otherwise. If anybody wants to just talk SEO or have us take a look at your site or where you're at, we'll be honest, give you an honest, fingerprint of where you are today or what we could do to maybe help. But yeah, strategicseosolutions.com.
I think we have a strategic SEO podcast coming soon, baby, where he talks about the latest SEO techniques you can take advantage of. He brings on SEO experts. You never know. You never know, my dude. Let's go. I love it. Well, I appreciate your soul. I appreciate your energy. I always take some notes, but got a nice show notes with you, my dude. And I really appreciate it because I think more and more businesses need this. And I think that if you're gravitated to it, know that a lot of times we can do things on our own, but many times we get it done so much faster with so much more success when we bring on an outside expert. And you guys have been doing it for so many years that it's like, we're not playing games here, baby. Go right to the source. Go right to the experts. Mr. Jon Lightfoot, thank you so much for coming on the show today. You folks, you've been hanging out with Mr. Jon Lightfoot and Travis Talon Huff. We want to thank you again for your time today, and let's keep being real.
What another epic episode. And if you enjoyed the episode today, can you please do me a favor and subscribe to our podcast, The Be Real Show, on iTunes or your favorite podcast platform. And also take a little time today, if you don't mind, and give your boy T Huff a review. I would really super appreciate it. And thank you so much for listening today. We're all going through a lot right now. And Real-Time Outsource, my business, is giving back to local and small businesses. Through our social media services and campaigns, we are actually helping small businesses get more exposure during these times, and also when we get through these times. At the end of the day, we don't know how long this is all going to last, but most importantly, you got to think about your business right now and take it seriously. So come check us out at realtimeoutsource.com, and we would love for you to qualify and get the process started where we can take a look at your business and see if we can qualify you for some of our services at little to no costs for most of the businesses. And some businesses, you're going to have to pay, but that's just part of life, right? But most importantly is that I think this is the time, folks, that you can actually help thrive in your business. And so I would love to help you personally with our team. We're all going through a tough time right now. So take advantage of us. realtimeoutsource.com. Check us out. And we would love to do some business with you and help you with your social and digital media in 2020 and beyond.